Close your eyes and imagine the timeline of human history. We've been taught a very specific story, that we started with stone tools, spent millennia in the dark, and only recently, in the last blink of a cosmic eye, did we master complex engineering, chemistry, and flight. It's a neat, comfortable, linear ladder of progress. But what if that ladder is a lie? Scattered across the globe, buried under layers of ancient sediment, and locked behind the glass of museum basements are objects that shouldn't exist. They are the glitches in our reality. We're talking about a 400-million-year-old hammer encased in solid rock. We're talking about Roman glassware built with nanotechnology that we only discovered in the 1990s. We're talking about massive stone blocks in the Andes cut with such surgical precision that modern lasers would struggle to mimic them. Mainstream science calls them out-of-place artifacts. Most experts look at them and they look away. Because to acknowledge them is to admit that our ancestors weren't just primitive. They might have been our equals or even our superiors, in ways we can't yet comprehend. Tonight, we aren't looking at myths or legends. We are looking at cold, hard physical evidence. From the peaks of Bolivia to the tombs of Egypt, we are counting down 10 ancient discoveries that modern science simply has no answer for. Buckle up. History is about to get complicated. We begin our countdown in June 1936 in the small town of London, Texas. Max Hahn and his wife were out for a simple stroll along Red Creek when they spotted something wrong. Protruding from a loose chunk of rock was a piece of wood. It looked like an ordinary branch at first, but upon closer inspection it was clearly a handle. Curiosity took over. They took the rock home, and a decade later, their son cracked it open. What he found inside sent shockwaves through the local community and, eventually, the entire world of archaeology. It wasn't a fossil. It wasn't a strange mineral formation. It was a hammer. A man-made, iron-headed tool, completely encased in solid limestone. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a common 19th century miner's tool that someone simply dropped. But here's where the impossible part begins. Geologists who examined the surrounding rock confirmed that the limestone was part of the Edwards Formation. That rock was formed during the Cretaceous period. We are talking about a time when dinosaurs, not humans, ruled the Earth. Specifically, this rock is estimated to be between 110 and 115 million years old. Some even argue it belongs to an even older layer, dating back 400 million years. Let that sink in for a second. According to the history books we all studied, humans didn't start making tools like this until maybe 10,000 years ago. So how did a modern-looking hammer end up inside a rock that existed before the first bird ever took flight? The mystery deepens when you look at the hammer itself. The metal head is composed of 96.6% iron, 2% chlorine, and 0.7% sulfur. This is an incredibly pure form of iron, purer than anything typically produced by the coal-smelting processes of the 19th century. Even more baffling? Since it was chiseled out of that rock in the 40s, the iron hasn't rusted. Not a single spot. It's as if the metal was treated with a technology we are still trying to perfect today. Critics claim it's a concretion, that minerals simply dissolved and hardened around a discarded tool very quickly. But if that's true, why is the wooden handle partially turned to coal? Carbonization like that usually requires immense pressure and vast amounts of time. Is it a hoax, a freak of nature, or evidence that a technologically advanced civilization was walking the Earth 100 million years before we arrived? Science remains silent, but the hammer sits there, cold and solid, defying everything we think we know. For our 9th discovery, we head to the cold, battle-scarred lands of Northern Europe. Between the years 800 and 1000 AD, the Vikings were the most feared warriors on Earth. But their greatest secret wasn't just their courage, it was their steel. Archaeologists have recovered about 170 ancient swords, inscribed with a mysterious word, plus VLFHT+. At first, these were thought to be just high-quality Viking weapons. But when modern metallurgists put them under the microscope, they were stunned. These swords are made of crucible steel. a metal so pure and strong that it shouldn't have existed in Europe for another 800 years. You see, to make steel this pure, you need to heat iron to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, about 1,650 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, the slag, the impurities in the metal, liquefies and can be removed, leaving behind a carbon-rich steel that is incredibly flexible and almost impossible to break. Here's the problem. During the Viking Age, European furnaces weren't even close to being hot enough to achieve this. The technology to reach those temperatures didn't officially appear in Europe until the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century. So, how did a 9th century blacksmith create a blade that is nearly identical in chemical composition to modern surgical steel? Some researchers believe the secret came from the East. The Vikings were traders as much as they were raiders. There is evidence they traveled the Volga trade route all the way to Central Asia, where Damascus steel was being developed. But even that doesn't fully explain it. The Ulfbert swords are actually purer than most contemporary blades from the East. The precision is terrifying. If you heat the metal just a few degrees too low, the sword becomes brittle. A few degrees too high, and it ruins the blade. This required a scientific understanding of carbon ratios and thermal dynamics that we didn't think existed 1,000 years ago. The Ulfbert sword was the Ferrari of its time, a weapon from the future found in the hands of medieval warriors. It stands as a chilling reminder that while we think history is a slow climb out of the mud, sometimes the people of the past were carrying secrets that we are only now beginning to understand. Our 8th discovery brings us face to face with a puzzle that has left historians scratching their heads for over 2 centuries. Imagine walking through an ancient Roman site and digging up an object that looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie. It is a hollow, bronze, 12-sided shell, a dodecahedron. Each of its 12 pentagonal faces has a circular hole of a different diameter, and at every corner there's a small, decorative brass knob. Since the first one was found in 1739, we have discovered more than 100 of these objects across Europe, from the foggy fields of Britain to the borders of Germany and France. But here's the kicker. In the vast, meticulous library of Roman literature, through thousands of scrolls describing everything from military tactics to tax laws, there is not a single mention of this object. No name, no manual, no purpose. For decades, experts have been playing a high-stakes game of guess what this is. Some historians suggested they were candle holders because wax residue was found inside one. Others argued they were dice for an ancient game, or perhaps scepters used by high-ranking priests to show their status. But these theories quickly fall apart. Why the different-sized holes? Why the complex geometry? In recent years, the internet and independent researchers have proposed a more practical, yet mind-blowing theory. They were knitting tools. Specifically, tools used to weave the fingers of woolen gloves. If you wrap yarn around the knobs and use the holes to guide the fabric, you can create a perfect glove. It sounds logical, right? But critics point out that many dodecahedrons show no signs of wear and tear, and some are far too ornate for a common household chore. Another fascinating possibility? They were sophisticated astronomical instruments. By looking through the different sized holes at specific stars or the sun, Roman farmers could have determined the exact date for planting winter grain. This would make the dodecahedron a handheld, analog calendar of incredible precision. Yet, none of these answers are definitive. We are looking at a mass-produced technology that was spread across an entire empire, used by thousands of people, and then it simply vanished from the human memory. Every time we think we've figured out the Roman mind, an object like this appears to remind us. There are parts of their world that remain completely alien to ours. What was it? A tool for a master weaver, a secret of the Druids, or a calculator for the stars? We might never know. In 1850, legendary archaeologist Sir John Layard was excavating the royal palace of Nimrud in modern-day Iraq when he pulled a strange object from the dust. It was a small piece of rock crystal, oval-shaped and carefully ground. To a casual observer, it looked like a piece of ancient jewelry. But when Layard held it up to a piece of text, the letters grew larger. He wasn't just holding a rock, he was holding a lens. The Nimrud lens dates back over 2,700 years to the Assyrian Empire. Now think about that for a moment. According to our standard history of science, the first optical lenses were developed in the 13th century, and the telescope wasn't invented until the early 1600s. Yet, here is a physical focalizing lens from nearly 3 millennia ago. When scientists at the University of Rome analyzed the crystal, they discovered something staggering. This wasn't just a polished stone, it was a plano-convex lens. It was ground with a mathematical precision that suggests the Assyrians understood the laws of refraction. But what was it used for? This is where the mystery gets truly deep. Professor Giovanni Pettinato proposed a theory that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. He noted that the ancient Assyrians had an incredibly advanced knowledge of astronomy. They described the planet Saturn as a god surrounded by a ring of serpents. Here's the catch. You cannot see the rings of Saturn with the naked eye. It's physically impossible. You need at least a low-power telescope. Is it possible that the Nimrud lens was part of an ancient Assyrian telescope? If true, it means the scientific revolution happened 2,000 years earlier than we thought, and then the technology was somehow lost to time. Of course, mainstream skeptics have their own answers. They argue it was just a magnifying glass for master craftsmen to do fine engraving, or perhaps a simple burning glass used to start fires by focusing sunlight. But even if it was just a magnifying glass, it still shatters our timeline. It proves that the ancients had mastered the art of optics, the science of light, while we assume they were still living in a world of primitive tools. The Nimrud lens sits today in the British Museum, a small, cloudy piece of crystal that holds a giant secret. Was it a window to the stars, or a tool for a forgotten master? Either way, it proves that the ancient eyes saw much further than we ever gave them credit for. In the heart of the Qutub complex in New Delhi, India, stands a monument that looks, at first glance, quite ordinary. It's a black iron pillar about 7 meters tall, inscribed with ancient Sanskrit. But don't let its modest appearance fool you. This pillar has been standing in the open air, exposed to the blistering heat, monsoon rains, and modern pollution of Delhi for over 1,600 years. And yet it has not rusted. Not even a single flake. To put this into perspective, if you left a modern iron rod outside in those same conditions, it would crumble into a pile of reddish dust within a few decades. So how did the ancient Indian metallurgists back in the 4th century AD create something that modern technology still struggles to replicate? For a long time, scientists thought it was just the dry climate of India, or perhaps a lucky fluke in the iron's purity. But they were wrong. In the early 2000s, metallurgists from the Indian Institute of Technology decided to crack the code. They discovered that the pillar isn't just pure iron. In fact, it contains an unusually high amount of phosphorus. But here's the genius part. The ancient blacksmiths used a specific technique called forge welding that pushed this phosphorus to the surface. This created a thin, protective layer called misawite, an amorphous iron oxyhydroxide. Think of it as a natural, molecular-level coating that shields the iron from the atmosphere. Essentially, 1,600 years before the invention of stainless steel, the people of ancient India were practicing nanotechnology. But the mystery doesn't end with the chemistry. It's also about the scale. The pillar weighs over 6 tons. To forge a single, solid piece of iron of that size in the 4th century would have required massive furnaces and a level of heat control that we thought was impossible for that era. It's a silent witness to a lost chemical secret. The Iron Pillar of Delhi isn't just a monument to a king named Chandra. It's a monument to a forgotten scientific brilliance. It stands there today, smooth and cold to the touch, mocking our modern planned obsolescence. It reminds us that while we build things to be replaced, the ancients built things to last forever. For our 5th discovery, we step into the mysterious world of Roman glassmaking. At first glance, this 1,600-year-old chalice, known as the Lycurgus cup, looks like a beautiful but standard piece of jade green glass. But don't let your eyes deceive you, because this cup possesses a superpower that shouldn't have been possible until the late 20th century. When you light the cup from the front, it glows with a dull, opaque green. But the moment you place a light source inside the cup, or shine a light through it from behind, the glass undergoes a startling transformation. It turns a deep, vibrant blood red. For centuries, scientists were baffled. They thought it might be a special stain or a chemical reaction to the liquid inside. It wasn't until 1990, when researchers examined fragments of the glass under a high-powered electron microscope, that the truth was revealed, and it left the scientific world in a state of shock. The Romans had infused the glass with particles of silver and gold, but they weren't just flakes. They were ground down into nanoparticles, about 50 nanometers in diameter. To give you an idea of how small that is, a single nanoparticle is 1,000th the size of a grain of salt. When light hits these particles, the electrons vibrate in a way that changes the color depending on the observer's position. This is a phenomenon we now call surface plasmon resonance. Today, we use this exact same science for high-tech sensors and advanced medical diagnostics. But the Romans, they were using it to make the ultimate party trick for their banquets. The most disturbing part for modern scientists isn't just the presence of these particles, it's the precision. The ratio of silver to gold is so exact that it couldn't have happened by accident. One slight mistake in the mixture, and the color-changing effect would be ruined. This means the Romans had a standardized, repeatable process for manipulating matter at a molecular level. How did they do it? They didn't have electron microscopes. They didn't have clean rooms or laser precision tools. Yet they created a masterpiece of nanotechnology that we can only hope to replicate with our most advanced equipment today. The Lycurgus cup is proof that 1600 years ago, someone was playing with the very building blocks of the universe. For our fourth discovery, we traveled deep into the rainforests of South America. Between 500 and 1,000 years ago, the Quimbaya people of modern-day Colombia crafted hundreds of small gold figurines to be buried with their dead. Most of these represent what you'd expect: birds, lizards, and jaguars. But among them, archaeologists found a handful of objects that stopped them dead in their tracks. They are known as the Quimbaya artifacts. At first, museums labeled them as zoomorphic figures, basically stylized insects or fish. But if you look closer, there's a problem. Nature doesn't design animals like this. These figures possess delta wings, a vertical stabilizer, and a fuselage that is perfectly symmetrical. In the natural world, birds have feathers and they don't have upright tail fins. But in the world of modern engineering, these are the exact requirements for a supersonic jet. For decades, mainstream science dismissed them as artistic imagination. That was until 1994, when three German researchers, August Einbohm, Peter Belting, and Konrad Lübbers, decided to put that imagination to the test. They didn't just look at the figurines, they built a scale model, exact in every proportion, and equipped it with a propeller and a small engine. The scientific community watched with skepticism. They expected the golden bird to tumble to the ground. Instead, when they launched it, the model took to the skies with breathtaking grace. It didn't just fly, it performed complex maneuvers and landed perfectly. It proved that these ancient shapes weren't just art, they were aerodynamically sound designs. Think about the implications. To create a shape that can achieve stable flight, you need a deep understanding of fluid dynamics and lift-to-drag ratios. These are concepts we only mastered in the last 120 years. So, how did a civilization in the Andes, a millennium ago, stumble upon the perfect design for a delta-wing aircraft? Was it a coincidence? Did they observe a giant, forgotten species of flying fish? Or were the Quimbaya people witnessing something in their skies that we have yet to find in the fossil record? Whatever the answer, the Quimbaya airplanes stand as a golden challenge to our modern ego, proving that the dream of flight might be far, far older than the Wright brothers. In 1999, a professor at Bashkir State University named Alexander Chuvirov was searching for evidence of an ancient civilization in the Ural Mountains of Russia. What he found under the porch of a local house wasn't just a relic. It was a 1.5-ton slab of stone that shouldn't exist. It is now known as the Dashka stone. At first it looked like a jagged piece of rock. But after it was cleaned, a breathtaking 3D relief map emerged. This wasn't a crude drawing. It was a highly accurate topographical map of a specific region in the Ural Mountains. Every valley, every peak, and every river was carved with surgical precision. But here is where the story turns from strange to impossible. As scientists analyzed the map, they realized it depicted massive civil engineering projects. A giant system of canals, dams, and powerful embankments stretching for thousands of kilometers. When they checked modern satellite imagery, the topography matched perfectly. Except for one thing. Those canals and dams aren't there today. To find out when this map was made, researchers analyzed the fossils embedded in the stone. They found two species of ancient shells, one that died out 50 million years ago, and another that vanished 120 million years ago. This suggests the stone slab itself is over 100 million years old. Now, think about the logic here. To create a 3D relief map of an entire mountain range, you need aerial or satellite data. You need advanced cartography. But 100 million years ago, humans weren't even an evolutionary thought. So, who was flying over the Ural Mountains in the age of the dinosaurs, surveying the land and planning massive irrigation systems? The stone is made of 3 layers. The base is a thick dolomite. The second layer is a diopside glass, a material we only recently learned how to process, and it's where the map is carved. The third layer is a protective porcelain. This isn't a natural formation. It's a manufactured, high-tech piece of equipment. Mainstream science struggles to accept it. They argue the shells might be older than the carvings. But even if the map is only 10,000 years old, it still requires technology we didn't have until the 20th century. The Dashka stone remains a silent, heavy witness to a world before our world, a map left behind by a creator who saw the Earth from the stars. Deep in the remote province of Qinghai, China, stands Mount Baigong. It's a desolate, pyramid-shaped peak surrounded by saltwater lakes. In 2002, a group of explorers ventured into a cave on the mountain's slope, and what they found defied everything we know about the history of industry. Embedded into the ancient rock of the cave were hundreds of rusty iron pipes. Some are massive, 1/2 meter in diameter, while others are as thin as a toothpick. They aren't just lying there. They are integrated into the mountain itself, some running deep into the ground, and others leading directly into the nearby saltwater lake. When scientists from the Beijing Institute of Geology took samples of the pipes to be analyzed, the mystery only deepened. They used a technique called thermoluminescence, which measures how long a mineral has been exposed to sunlight. The result? These pipes are at least 150,000 years old. Now let's look at the timeline. 150,000 years ago, modern humans, Homo sapiens, were barely beginning to migrate out of Africa. They were using sharpened stones and fire. They certainly weren't smelting iron, and they definitely weren't building industrial-scale plumbing systems in the remote mountains of China. The analysis of the metal was even more bizarre. The pipes are made of 30% ferric oxide, mixed with high amounts of silicon and calcium. But 8% of the material is labeled as unidentifiable. Even with our modern laboratories, we cannot tell exactly what those elements are. Skeptics argue that these are not pipes at all, but fossilized tree roots that underwent a rare process of mineralization. It's a neat theory, except for one thing. Tree roots are organic and messy. These objects are perfectly hollow, uniform in shape, and arranged in a way that looks intentional, like a cooling system for a prehistoric machine. If they aren't trees, then we are left with a terrifying conclusion. Someone, or something, was conducting heavy industrial work on this planet at a time when we were supposed to be living in caves. Who needed a saltwater delivery system in the middle of a Chinese wasteland 150,000 years ago? The Baigong pipes remain a silent, rusted skeleton of a world that officially never existed. We have reached our #1 spot. To find it, we must travel to the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, to the ruins of an ancient temple complex known as Baalbek. Now, the Romans built a magnificent temple to Jupiter here, but they built it on top of something impossible. Hidden in the foundation are three colossal limestone blocks known as the trilithon. Each of these stones weighs an estimated 800 tons. To put that in perspective, that is the weight of two Boeing 747s each. And they aren't just sitting on the ground. They have been lifted 20 feet into the air and fitted together so tightly that you cannot slide a razor blade between them. But it gets even stranger. Just a short walk from the temple, in a nearby quarry, sits an even larger block, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This monster weighs an incredible 1,200 tons. It was partially carved and left there, as if the workers just walked away from the job. Here's the scientific problem that no one can solve. Even today, with our most advanced hydraulic cranes and heavy lift technology, moving a 1,200-ton block of stone is a massive engineering nightmare. It requires specialized equipment, stabilized roads, and months of planning. Yet someone, thousands of years before the invention of the engine, moved these stones across rugged terrain and stacked them with millimeter precision. Modern archaeologists try to explain it using wooden rollers, ropes, and thousands of slaves. But the math doesn't add up. The amount of force needed to overcome the friction of an 800-ton block would snap the strongest hemp ropes like sewing thread. The wooden rollers would be crushed into dust instantly under that much pressure. There is no record in Roman history of how they moved these stones. In fact, many researchers believe the foundation is much, much older than the Roman Empire, perhaps dating back to a lost epoch of humanity that possessed a technology we can't even imagine. Was it acoustic levitation? Was it a lost understanding of gravity? Or a forgotten machinery of the gods? The trilithon of Baalbek stands as our #1 discovery because it represents a physical limit. It is a mystery you can touch, a mountain of stone moved by hands that, according to our history books, shouldn't have had the power to do it. It is the ultimate proof that the unbreakable laws of our past are meant to be questioned. 10 discoveries. 10 physical anomalies that defy the very foundation of the history we were taught in school. From the nanoscale chemistry of Rome to the 1,000-ton stones of Baalbek, we are left with a staggering realization. Our ancestors were not who we think they were. We often view history as a straight, ascending line, a slow, painful crawl from primitive caves to high-tech skyscrapers. We like this story because it makes us feel like the pinnacle of evolution. But these artifacts tell a different story. They tell a story of a cyclical history. They suggest that humanity has reached the summit of knowledge many times before, only to be pushed back into the shadows by cataclysms, time, or our own mistakes. The London hammer, the bygone pipes, the Ulfbert steel. These aren't just cool mysteries, they are warning signs. They prove that knowledge is fragile. If our modern civilization vanished tomorrow, would our digital cloud, our plastic world, or our silicon chips survive 10,000 years of erosion? Probably not. We would leave behind nothing but dust, while a single perfectly cut stone or a rust-proof iron pillar would remain to baffle whoever comes after us. Mainstream science may continue to look away, labeling these as coincidences or natural freaks. But you've seen the evidence today. You know that there are chapters of the human story that have been ripped out of the book. We are a species with amnesia, slowly waking up to a much grander, much more mysterious past. So I want to hear from you. Which of these 10 discoveries convinced you the most? Is it the precision of the ancient maps or the high-tech metallurgy of the Vikings? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and I want to know your theories. If you're someone who refuses to accept the standard version of the truth and wants to keep digging deeper into the mysteries of our world, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We are just scratching the surface. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and never stop questioning the world around you. Because the truth isn't just out there, it's buried right beneath our feet. See you in the next discovery. Science grapples with these ancient enigmas, but what if the very answers we seek lie hidden? Not in the questions, but in groundbreaking revelations yet to be fully understood. Prepare to have your perception shattered as we unveil 10 mind-blowing historical discoveries that are rewriting the very fabric of history. Imagine a world where dinosaurs roamed alongside humans, or where ancient civilizations possessed technology far beyond their time. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, think again. Today, we're going to take you on a journey through time to reveal 10 archaeological discoveries so astonishing, they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about history. The buried city of Pompeii. Pompeii is an ancient Roman city located in the Konya region of Italy. The city was completely buried by the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. When excavated, Pompeii emerged as a living history treasure, recording the daily life of ancient Romans in their final moments. What is amazing is that Pompeii was preserved almost intact under the ash. When excavated, the city emerged as a living history treasure, giving us a true look at the daily life of ancient Romans. From the elaborately decorated houses, bustling shops, theaters, public baths, to beautiful frescoes, all seem frozen in time. Before the disaster, Pompeii was a bustling city with massive architecture, bustling markets, and a rich cultural life. The people here were completely unaware of the danger lurking right below the volcano. One day in August 79, Mount Vesuvius suddenly woke up. Huge amounts of ash and molten lava erupted violently, covering the sky. The hot ash cloud and toxic gas poured down on Pompeii, making the air suffocating and difficult to breathe. Many people tried to escape, but it was too late. The molten lava burned everything in its path, from houses, temples to fields. The thick layer of ash gradually covered the city, burying everything under hard soil. Many people suffocated or were trapped in their own homes. The excavation of Pompeii has yielded many amazing discoveries, helping archaeologists better understand the lives of ancient Romans. Household items such as food, drinks, jewelry, weapons were found in intact condition. Beautiful wall paintings decorated the houses, depicting daily life, gods, and historical events. Today, Pompeii is a priceless world cultural heritage, attracting millions of visitors each year. Studying Pompeii helps us better understand ancient Roman society, culture, economy, and art. At the same time, it is also a reminder of the devastating power of nature and the importance of disaster prevention. Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall is a massive military structure built by the Roman Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century AD. It runs across northern England, marking the northernmost boundary of the Roman Empire at the time. The main purpose of the wall was to clearly demarcate the territory of the Roman Empire and the Pictish tribes living to the north. In addition to its function as a boundary, the wall also served as a strong defense system, helping to protect the empire from attacks from the north. In addition, the wall was used to control trade and migration between the two regions. The wall is about 120 kilometers long, running from the Irish Sea to the North Sea. The average height of the wall is about 4.5 meters, enough to prevent infantry attacks. The main materials used to build the wall are stone, earth, and wood. Inside the wall are watchtowers, fortresses, and other architectural works serving military purposes. This is where a large number of Roman soldiers were stationed. Their task was to protect the wall, patrol the border, and prevent attacks. In addition to the army, there was also a large number of civilians living near the wall, including merchants, craftsmen, and farmers. Over thousands of years, part of the wall has been destroyed by time and natural impacts. However, a large part of the wall still exists today. Coming here, some of you will probably ask, can you visit Hadrian's Wall? I would like to answer you. Absolutely. Many sections of the wall have been preserved and are open to visitors. So if you want to visit this famous wall, go now. Egyptian pyramids. The Egyptian pyramids are one of the greatest and most mysterious architectural wonders of mankind. These giant structures have stood for thousands of years, defying the time and curiosity of archaeologists and history buffs alike. How the ancient Egyptians were able to build such huge structures remains a question that has yet to be fully answered. Pyramids were originally built as magnificent tombs to bury pharaohs and queens. The ancient Egyptians believed that pyramids would help the pharaoh's soul ascend to heaven. Moreover, it was also a symbol of the absolute power of the pharaohs. The larger the size and complexity of the pyramid, the more it demonstrated the wealth and power of that king. Many studies have shown that the location and orientation of the pyramids are closely related to the stars and planets, showing that the ancient Egyptians had extensive knowledge of astronomy. Inside each pyramid is a complex system of rooms and corridors leading to the main burial chamber. Here, the pharaoh was placed in a marble sarcophagus, along with precious burial objects such as gold, silver, jewelry, and daily living items. The pharaoh's mummy was meticulously preserved using complex mummification techniques. Archaeologists have found many well-preserved mummies, helping us better understand the life and medicine of the ancient Egyptians. In addition to the mummies, archaeologists have also found countless precious burial objects in the pyramids. These objects not only provide information about the life of the pharaoh, but also show the wealth and sophistication of Egyptian craftsmanship. Until now, scientists have not been able to explain how the ancient Egyptians were able to build such huge structures with primitive tools. In addition to being used as a burial site, could the pyramids have other purposes, such as an astronomical observatory, a power plant, or even a time machine? Many secrets are still hidden inside the pyramids, waiting to be discovered. Hopefully in the near future, with advances in science and technology, we can discover the mysteries related to this mysterious ancient site. Qin Shi Huang's Terracotta Army. The Terracotta Army of Qin Shi Huang is one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Thousands of life-size terracotta soldiers, along with chariots and weapons, show the might of the ancient Chinese army. 1974, a group of local farmers accidentally discovered the first terracotta statues while digging a well. They reported this to the local authorities. Archaeologists later came to explore and discovered a group of life-size terracotta soldiers, horses, and chariots, buried with the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. It is estimated that about 8,000 statues of soldiers, horses, and chariots have been discovered so far. Each statue has its own unique characteristics, from hairstyle, facial features to costumes and weapons. This shows that the craftsmen put a lot of effort into creating these works of art. The terracotta statue complex was built on a very large area, with many tombs and tunnels. Despite many years of research, the terracotta army still has many unsolved mysteries. For example, how to create the faces of each statue so vividly, or the real purpose of burying such a large army. There are many hypotheses for the burial of such a large number of terracotta soldiers. For example, protecting the emperor in the afterlife. This is probably the most popular hypothesis. The ancient Chinese believed in life after death and believed that the emperor would need an army to protect him in the afterlife. Or, it could be a symbol of military power. The terracotta army represented the might of the Qin dynasty's army and was a message to opposing forces showing the absolute power of the emperor. Or, the burial of such a large army was part of an elaborate royal burial ritual intended to demonstrate the emperor's wealth and power. The terracotta army is a priceless cultural heritage of mankind. The discovery and study of this army has opened new doors for the study of ancient Chinese history and culture. It is not only a testament to the power and wealth of the Qin dynasty, but also a symbol of the wisdom and talent of the Chinese people. If you are interested in the history of this country of 1 billion people, you should not miss exploring this place. Mohenjo-Daro City. Mohenjo-Daro is one of the largest and most developed ancient cities of the Indus civilization, one of the earliest ancient civilizations of mankind. The city is located in the Sindh province of present-day Pakistan. It flourished around 2600 and 1900 BC. The city had a modern drainage system, brick buildings and complex public works, indicating a high level of development of the Indus people. Mohenjo-Daro was built according to a very strict urban plan, with a system of wide, perpendicular streets, a complete drainage system, and clearly divided residential areas. This shows that people here had a highly developed urban life thousands of years ago. The architectural works were all built with baked bricks, proving that people here knew about brick production and construction techniques very early. One of the most amazing discoveries at Mohenjo-Daro is the complete drainage system with underground pipes and manholes. This system shows that people here had a very high awareness of environmental sanitation. Here, archaeologists have found many public works such as large baths, swimming pools, and common living areas. This shows that people here had a developed social life and cared about community life. Although not yet fully deciphered, archaeologists have found many hieroglyphic seals at Mohenjo-Daro, suggesting that the people here had their own writing system. To this day, scientists have not been able to determine the exact cause of the collapse of the Indus civilization and the city of Mohenjo-Daro. However, some hypotheses have been put forward as follows. Some scientists believe that sudden climate change caused a prolonged drought, leading to a decline in water resources and agriculture, forcing people to migrate. Other hypotheses suggest that a major earthquake or a flood destroyed the city of Mohenjo-Daro, or it is possible that Mohenjo-Daro was attacked and invaded by other tribes. Ötzi mummy, Ötzi, also known as the Iceman, was one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. His body was found in a nearly perfect state of preservation in the Italian Alps in 1991. Ötzi was discovered by chance in a glacier in the Alps by two German mountaineers. The discovery of Ötzi opened a whole new window for scientists, helping them to better understand the lives of Neolithic people in Europe. Many surprising things have been discovered here. Ötzi was naturally preserved in ice, allowing scientists to study in detail his body, clothes, utensils, and even his last meal. Studies have shown that Ötzi was pierced through the shoulder by an arrow. In addition, he had many other wounds on his body, indicating that he had been in a fierce fight before. Analysis of the remaining substances in Ötzi's stomach showed that he had eaten mountain sheep and wheat. On Ötzi's body, there are more than 60 tattoos, mainly concentrated on the joints. Scientists believe that these tattoos may have had a medicinal purpose. Along with the mummy, archaeologists also found many of Ötzi's personal belongings, including a goatskin coat, deerskin trousers and leather shoes, a bow and arrow, a flint knife, and a bronze axe. In addition, there was a bag, a bear fur hat, and some bone tools. Although there has been a lot of research about Ötzi, there are still many mysteries that have not been solved. For example, the true meaning of the tattoos on his body or the reason why Ötzi was attacked. Atlantis City. Although there is no archaeological evidence to confirm the existence of the city of Atlantis, the story of a sunken city at the bottom of the ocean still attracts the curiosity of many people. Atlantis is a legendary city first described by the Greek philosopher Plato in his works, especially in the dialogues Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, Atlantis was a powerful, rich, and civilized island empire, but eventually sank to the bottom of the sea after a great flood. Although there have been many searches, to date there has been no authentic archaeological evidence of the existence of Atlantis. Throughout history, many locations around the world have been put forward as candidates for Atlantis, including Thera, an island in the Aegean Sea, Greece, that experienced a massive volcanic eruption around 1600 BC. Many archaeologists believe that the eruption may have caused a massive tsunami, destroying a civilization that flourished in the area. Bimini Road, an underwater rock formation in the Bahamas, believed to be part of an ancient road. Crete, the birthplace of the Minoan civilization, one of the most advanced ancient civilizations in the Mediterranean. Or even, some researchers believe that Atlantis may have been located somewhere on the island of Great Britain. To this day, the question of whether Atlantis existed remains unanswered. It may be that Atlantis was just a fictional story by Plato, or it may be based on a real historical event that has been exaggerated over time. Whether it was real or not, Atlantis remains a fascinating and inspiring subject for many. The legend of Atlantis has inspired countless works of literature, film, and art. Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is a stone tablet inscribed with 3 different types of writing: Greek, Ancient Egyptian, and hieroglyphs. It helped scientists decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs and opened the door to exploring this ancient civilization. It was discovered in 1799 by a French engineer officer during the construction of a fortress near the Egyptian city of Rosetta, now Rashid. While working, he accidentally discovered a stone tablet inscribed with strange characters. The special thing about the Rosetta Stone is that it is engraved with the same passage in 3 different scripts: Greek, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and Egyptian folk script, Demotic. The content of the text is a decree of King Ptolemy Foth, issued in 906 BC. The fact that the same content is written in 3 different scripts has facilitated linguists to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphic system, which has been a great mystery for centuries. So how did the deciphering process of this stone take place? French Egyptologist Jean-François Champollion is considered the first person to successfully decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs based on the Rosetta Stone. He noticed the correspondence between Greek characters and some symbols in hieroglyphs, thereby building the Egyptian alphabet. The successful deciphering of hieroglyphs opened a new chapter in the study of ancient Egyptian history and culture. Archaeologists can now read and understand ancient texts, uncovering secrets hidden in pyramids, tombs, and other monuments. Troy City. Troy, a name associated with heroic legends and long wars in Greek mythology, was once considered a place that only existed in people's imagination. However, archaeological discoveries have proven that this city really existed and left a deep mark on human history. Greek legend tells of the Trojan War, a 10-year war between the alliance of Greek city-states and Troy, which began when Paris, the prince of Troy, kidnapped Helen, the wife of Menelaus, the king of Sparta. The story of the Trojan horse and heroes such as Achilles and Odysseus has become the inspiration for countless works of literature, art, and cinema. However, for centuries, people have doubted the real existence of Troy. It was not until the 19th century that German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann began excavations at Hisarlik, Turkey, and discovered the ruins of an ancient city. Heinrich Schliemann, an amateur but passionate archaeologist, devoted his life to finding Troy. He believed that Homer, author of the Iliad and Odyssey, based his stories on real historical events. Schliemann's excavations at Hisarlik revealed many cultural layers, each representing a different period in the city's history. He identified 9 different city layers and believed that the 9th city layer was the legendary Troy. However, Schliemann's findings were controversial in the archaeological community. Many scientists believed that he was too hasty in his conclusions and that his excavation methods were not truly scientific. After Schliemann, many other archaeologists continued to research at Hisarlik. New excavations have provided more evidence of Troy's existence and helped us better understand its history. Archaeologists have determined that Hisarlik was not just a city, but a place that was inhabited and rebuilt many times over thousands of years. Each layer of the city represents a different culture, from the Bronze Age to the Roman period. Although there is no direct evidence of the long-term warfare described in the myth, the traces of repeated destruction and reconstruction indicate that the city has gone through many wars and conflicts. Today, Troy is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Every year, millions of tourists come here to explore the ruins of a legendary city and learn about its glorious history. Lascaux Cave. The Lascaux Caves are one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, giving us a fascinating insight into the lives and art of prehistoric people. Located in southwestern France, the caves contain stunning and vivid cave paintings, created around 17,000 years ago. These paintings are some of the earliest examples of abstract art and give us a fascinating insight into the spiritual lives of prehistoric people. In 1940, a group of teenagers accidentally discovered the Lascaux Cave while exploring. Inside the cave, they found thousands of paintings and carvings on the walls, mainly images of animals such as bison, horses, giraffes, and even human figures. These works of art have provided archaeologists with valuable information about the lives, beliefs, and thinking of prehistoric people. The paintings were made with natural mineral pigments, mixed with a binder made from animal fat. Prehistoric people used a variety of techniques to create these works, such as spraying, finger painting, or using stone tools. In addition to animal images, the paintings also depict abstract shapes and handprints of the creators. Many researchers believe that the cave paintings have spiritual significance related to hunting, fertility, and other rituals. Although there have been many studies on the Lascaux caves, there are still many unanswered questions, such as, why did prehistoric people create these paintings? What significance did they have to their lives? How could prehistoric people create such sophisticated paintings with primitive tools? Were the paintings a form of communication between groups of people? I think the Lascaux caves are still a fascinating research topic and promise to bring many new discoveries in the future. From the ancient enigmas that push the boundaries of science to the monumental discoveries that force us to reconsider our history, it's clear the past holds far more secrets than we ever imagined. These hidden chapters constantly remind us that the story of humanity is far from fully written. Each artifact, each structure, whispers tales of a forgotten era, urging us to question, to explore, and to seek the truth. What do you believe is the greatest mystery or the most pivotal discovery? Share your insights in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the forgotten corners of our world.